Hello, beautiful. Welcome to Thursday Talks. Today is a special session. Instead of being live, this is a replay of a popular Thursday talk from the past. I hope you enjoy this one. I'm sorry I can't be live with you today, but I will be back with you very soon. If you would like to join me in the Facebook group, the Home Organizing Challenges group is what you can search on Facebook to find us. The link is also in the description. I'll see you live soon, and I hope you enjoy this popular topic. I love you.
Hello, beautiful. Happy Thursday for another Thursday talk. Now, have you ever felt like you want to let go of some items, you want to declutter, but you get stuck and you're not sure how to emotionally let go? Well, this is the series for you. This 5-part series is the Declutter Questions series, and this is part 2. Each week for 5 weeks, we are going over some questions that can help you let go of the things that you don't need and all the excess so you can really appreciate and enjoy the things that you do need. I'm so glad that you're here, beautiful, today. Today, we are talking about space and freedom. So these questions are going to be focused on space and freedom and the value of the space and freedom in your life versus the things. So really quickly, hi, Karen. Good morning. She says, good morning, everyone. I love it. Welcome. And hey, Eloise. Wonderful to see you. As you hop on, let me know if you've been watching the series so far, because this is part 2. Did you catch last week, or are you brand new to the series? I'm excited to have you here either way. And last week's is on the YouTube channel. So if you missed it, it's right there for you. Hey, Kathy. Good to see you today. Welcome, beautiful. All right. So today, because it's been quite a crazy morning, I don't have all of the questions on the screen. Instead, I will be holding them up for you with my little comment cards, my question cards. A lot of these questions came from ones that I developed when I used to work with people one-on-one in their homes. And there were certain things that I found that many people seem to get stuck with. So I created some question cards for clients back in the day that they could tape to their wall, keep on their desk, and just keep in sight. So that way when they're decluttering, these questions are front and center and they can remember to keep asking themselves whatever their trigger questions are. So throughout this series, if there's a question or 2 or 20 that you find are more of a trigger, things that really resonate with you and that help you make the right decision for yourself, write them up, print them out. You can print out several and then hang them up near you when you are organizing, so you remember to ask that question again and again. So the way these questions work is the more often you ask yourself these questions as you're decluttering, the more you're going to start to automatically answer those questions as you move forward. So at first, it takes work to remember to ask the question. It takes longer. You ask the question, you have to think about the answer. But the more often you do it, because really it's about repeating, right? Frequently repeating the same type of thought or action, the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more automatic it becomes. And you will find that if you've spent the month with one question that you're asking yourself, or every time you're organizing, you're asking over and over, by the end of the month, you're automatically answering it without even having to think about it. It's become part of how you think, and it can change everything, because that will keep you automatically decluttering and making better choices for you. There is no right or wrong about things to keep and things to let go of. It's all a personal choice. That's why asking the right questions can help you figure out what's right for you in your life. All right. So, hey, Lynn, I want to say hi and hello. We've got a couple Facebook users. Welcome. There's a link in the description if you wanted to have your name and profile photo show up. Then there's a little link where you can authorize it in the description, but you don't have to. It's good to see you. Good morning, Corinne. Susan says, this is so good. I've moved several other appointments to be here live. Oh, that's fantastic. So excited to have you here. Someone says, I have 90% of my emergency medical folder done. Thank you. That's awesome. Wonderful. It's a huge accomplishment. Hey, Paula, and good morning, Nan. And hi, Pamela. All right. So like I mentioned, today we are focusing on the questions that revolve around space and freedom. So one of the questions that I love to ask in order to really think about space and freedom, would I rather have this item or more space? Would I rather have this item or more space? So really think about that. So for example, when we were talking about the other day, we talked about my juicer and the fact that I used to use this juicer all the time. I kept this big, it's significantly sized juicer because it was something that was really important and super useful, but my life has changed and my thought process has not changed. So I kept it forever because I had not really asked myself the questions about how much am I really using it? What value is it adding now? My brain was still programmed to how it used to be. So now looking at this juicer in my laundry room that takes up a lot of space, would I rather have this item, my juicer, or more space? Wow, that's a lot of space. What else could I put there? Or wouldn't that be nice visually? Sometimes you can even take the item away and look at it with that open space and think, how much nicer is that than the item itself? So for the juicer example, that's a great example because the juicer is not adding value anymore. It's not something that I'm using very often at all. So it's taking up a lot of space. Right now, the space is much more valuable to me. And when we talk about space, I don't just mean physical space. There's also mental space that an item takes up. So when you walk into, like for me, the laundry room, when you walk into the room and you see the item or a lot of items, mentally, that carries a weight for you, doesn't it? Your brain is processing that. Your brain is thinking about all of the thoughts attached to that, such as, oh my goodness, this is too cluttered. You feel heavy. You just feel burdened when there's too much around. So that mental space that the juicer is taking up, when I walk into the laundry room and that whole shelf is full, and I think if I need something behind that first layer, that's going to be so much work. And I wonder what's even up there because it's been a while since I pulled it down and looked. And I see the juicer. It's something I need to make a decision on. All of these thoughts, even if they aren't conscious thoughts, they're going on in the back of your head. That's mental space that the item is taking up. So not only would I rather have the physical space, see some shelf instead of seeing stuff, see a little bit of space and air on the shelf, have a little bit more room for the things that are on the shelf so I can get them in and out easily. But also I would love to have that mental space. I would love to walk into the laundry room and not have that shelf give me all those subconscious thoughts and carry that weight. So question number one, would I rather have this item or more space? All right, really quickly, wanted to say hi to, hey, Barbara, good to see you. And Lori, welcome, welcome. Hey, Linda. She said, good morning, sunshine. Eloise said to Karen, sweet, I love this little city. They're both from the same place. Love it, love it. And Linda says, juicers are clumsy. They are. They're not the easiest. They're wonderful if you actually use them all the time because it does make some amazing apple and carrot juice, which was fantastic for energy, but it doesn't fit into my lifestyle anymore. So now it's just a big clumsy machine. Susan, if you have a question about the binder, do me a favor and email me at hello@suzannakaye.com. I don't have the answer to any of your specific account questions right now on the live, and I can't pause to look it up, but I can definitely answer you if you shoot me an email. hello@suzannakaye.com. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Mary Lou's here from Iowa. Linda says that her Spark Life binder was mailed out yesterday. Yay, that's exciting. I know some of them have been delivered already even, which is great. S says, great thought, mental versus physical space. I love that. Yeah, we forget that space is not just physical when it comes to our things. Space is very much mental. Welcome, Sheila and Jean. Good morning. Great to see you. And Lynn says, is there a printout for today? I don't see a link. I don't know why it's not in the download or in the description. I'll post in the description later. if it's not there, but you can get, it's the Thursday Talk note sheet, our general note-taking guide. It's not a specific one to this session, but you can get the general note-taking guide at suzannakaye.live/TT for Thursday Talk -download. And that will be available for 1 week from today. So before the next Thursday Talk, that's when it expires and it gets changed out and then it's just gone. So hopefully you can grab that. I'll put the link back up again later on. Welcome, Jane. Good to see you. And Linda says, I love the idea of moving items to see the space without it. It's interesting what our brain does. You know, our brain does not like change. If there's going to be effort required, if there's emotional energy required, then we're going to resist it. So we need to show our brain the possible better option. So yes, if you take the juicer down and put it off like on the table or something, then A, it's already down. You've already done the work of pulling it down and getting it out of the way. But B, then you can see the shelf space. You can actually see the white of the painted shelf. And it's nice because then your brain can visually see the benefit. And now that it's already down and your brain can see the benefit, you're much more likely to take that next step. And it's very unlikely that you're going to want to put it right back and ruin that beautiful picture of space that you already had. Hey, Peg, good to see you. Yep, that's right. Good morning, Bonnie. She says, early here, late there. Yep, you must be on the West Coast. Welcome, welcome. All right, so that was question number 1. We talked about, let me pull it back up again. Would you rather have this item or more space? Question number 2 is, what is the worst that would happen without it? What is the worst thing that would happen if you did not have that item? All right, this is a tough one sometimes because our brain can go wild, but what is the worst thing that would happen without that item? And really be honest about it. So for example, we can use the juicer really quick as one example. What is the worst thing that would happen if I donated the juicer? And okay, worst thing that could happen, I decide I want to start doing juices again and I have to buy another juicer. Not the end of the world. I mean, it was expensive. So I'm out another $100 to $200. That's pretty rough. But the likelihood of me wanting juice again, to actually go through all of the work of juicing enough to need a juicer, highly unlikely. So what's the worst that would happen? Well, I'd probably maybe every once in a while go out and buy a thing from a smoothie or a juice from one of the restaurants that sell them. That's not that bad either. Or I would go without. I'd buy pre-made juice from the store, or I would drink tea or, something different. So there's nothing really tragic that would happen. The absolute worst case scenario would be spending money for another juicer if I decided to make that major life change. In the grand scheme of things, if I let go of 1,000 items in my home and I need to repurchase one, I would absolutely pay $100 to $200 for a couple of years of extra space and for all of the extra space of the things that I don't ever want to buy again. So in the grand scheme of things, when you add it all up, it's totally worth it, right? If I buy one thing back out of that 1,000 I let go of, that's so much space. Totally worth it. So here's another example. What's the worst thing that would happen without it? There are some things like the fire extinguisher under my sink. Now that is something I would love to get rid of. It just takes up space and it's clumsy and sometimes I knock it over, which is annoying. I never use it. That's a blessing. And I would much rather have the space. But what's the worst thing that would happen without it? Well, potentially there could be a kitchen fire, some kind of a grease fire. I could not put it out very easily with baking powder or whatever it is, or smothering it or anything like that. And I would need the fire extinguisher. So the worst thing, if I did not have that and I was not able to put out the fire, is major damage to my home and possibly the people I love within it. So that means that's a keep. even though I'd rather have the space. That's a keep, because the worst thing that would happen without it is really bad. Another example, with I talked about an egg slicer that I use to slice up the dog's food because he has to have little tiny pieces of his food. He doesn't have very many teeth, my old dog. I love that egg slicer. It does not take up much space, and I use it constantly because it makes it so much easier to chop up this super gooey, messy food. What's the worst thing that would happen without it? Well, once or twice a week, probably twice a week, I would struggle more with a knife. It would not be the end of the world, but I remember what it was like trying to cut it with a knife, and it all sticks together, and it took twice as long, and that is frequent. So the worst thing that would happen would not be the worst thing in the world, but it would be a major inconvenience because I do not have anything else that I found in my home that could do the same job. So that would be the worst thing that would happen without that one. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. What's the worst thing that would happen without it? If the worst thing that would happen without it is likely, and it is something that would be extremely detrimental to your happiness, your security, your safety, then it's probably leaning towards keeping the item. If the worst thing that would happen is you might possibly have to buy it again, even though you're not likely to because you've not used it in forever, or you might possibly need it one day, but there's probably something else that you could use that would work. Like if I did not cut up the dog food twice a week, if it was once a month, the knife would probably be enough, because I can go through that once a month and do it in a way that's not quite as easy. Twice a week, though, makes a big difference. That's much more frequent. So what's the worst that would happen? If it's going to cause major inconvenience or safety issues, anything like that, lean towards keeping the item. But it's not a question that is going to determine a definite keep or go. All of these questions add up, and you can, ask several questions to get to your final answer. Let's see. I wanted to say hi. Eloise says, I'm working on that now. The comment on mental versus physical space is great. Yeah, it's all in our brains a lot of times. Their brains have so much to do with our organizing. It's absolutely amazing. Hey, BT, good to see you. And hi, Janelle. Hello from Facebook. I'm reading the comments. Eloise says, I'm a safety lady and I've been seriously burned before, so the fire extinguisher is staying. Our cabinet guy mounted ours. That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I don't like it. It takes up space. It gets in the way, but it's a keep, because the worst that could happen is big. I'm sorry that you've been seriously burned before, but it's a great idea to mount it. That's a very good idea. Hey, Darlene, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. All right, so we have the next question is, this is a big one for me. This is one that I have to ask myself often. When will I get around to doing it? When will I get around to doing it? There are so many times that we keep items that are for a project or a craft or something to fix. When are you going to get around to doing it? Because these types of items can build up and they hold some of the bigger guilt. They really take up a whole lot of mental space, because I know right now in my craft area, I have several things from the holidays that are broken that need to be repaired. My goodness, I can tell you, walking to the craft area, mentally, I see the pile. There's about 5 or 6 things, but it looks like a bigger pile. Mentally, that is draining. Mentally, each time I think, I need to do that, and then the need word comes up, or I should do that. The should word comes up, and that's going to add more guilt, and it's just going to drain your energy, and it does everything but make you want to actually do it, right? So physical space, it's taking up some physical space. Mental space is taking up a lot of mental space. This happens with projects that would be nice to do around the house. Maybe you bought some things that you want to have installed, or you plan to do an upgrade to the house. Maybe there's something that needs to be fixed, like some of my items from the holidays, or maybe it's a craft project, something that you would like to do, and you bought all the supplies to do it, but you've not gotten around to it. So being honest about when will you get around to doing it is going to help you let go of the items that are right now cluttering up your space because they're not an item that you will get around to doing anytime soon. If you're not going to get around to doing it anytime soon, then either if you have a space for project supplies that you're not working on right now, that's out of your mental and physical space, so you're not going to be able to see it every single day, that's a great place to move it. Maybe you have a future projects bin. This is what I have to do. A future projects bin, and you can add in projects until it's full. And once it's full, projects have to be completed before a new one comes in so that you don't keep adding to it and it becomes like a room. But get it out of that like visual space. So that way it's not weighing you down mentally. So that's one option. Not everything needs to be out in sight so that you won't forget it. Sometimes you can have a project bin. Sometimes though, it's a project that you've not gotten around to for a very long time. New things keep coming in that you would much rather do or that are much more important. That's the kind of stuff that maybe it's time to donate those items to somebody who will get around to using them. And the space, again, how much is that space worth to you? Would you rather have the space than the item? Sometimes that project is not worth the space it's taking up, both mental and physical. And if you do decide to do it again in the future, you could probably buy the items again. Most of the time, they're not usually expensive items as it is. But in the future, we're talking years probably, if you decide to do it, you could always get those items again. Most likely though, if you've not done it by now, you probably are not even going to do it. And you will give yourself more space, more mental space too, for new things that you do want to do to come in. So bless somebody else by passing it on, let them do the project and clear up that mental space for yourself, because the more that you have unfinished around you, especially in your eyesight, but the more you have around you that is unfinished, the more weight you are carrying. So if you're not going to be able to get around to doing it, if it's not something you could put on your calendar within the next year and complete, then it's probably something that might be time to let it go. So an example for me, there's two examples. One example, I had this frame and I loved this frame. It was a frame that my sister had given me and it had this fabric and these beads that hung from it. And I had a cute little photo in it. And for years, at least 10 years, I had this frame hanging in an entryway in my home. And I did absolutely, absolutely love it. And one day it broke and all the beads fell off. So of course I scooped up all the beads and the frame and I put them in a bag and I put them in my bin of things to fix. 4 years later, I've not fixed that frame because I've just had other things come up. I've not gotten around to it. It's not been important enough to me to fix it, to finally take the time. There's been other things that I've either wanted to do or had to do first. And it's been 4 years. So the frame, I finally let it go, realizing that, you know what? I have something else in that space right now. I love the memory of the frame. I think I even did take a picture of the frame because it is one that I absolutely loved. I love the memory of the frame, but the frame itself, I no longer need. It was a different time in my life. It's not important enough that it has moved up in priority. So obviously it's telling me it's not that important anymore. So I let go of the frame. However, another example I have in that pile from the holidays, there's an ornament that got knocked off of the tree. And it was a very special ornament, one that I sought long and hard to find for my stepdaughter. And it's this beautiful ceramic deer. And of course, it got knocked off the tree. The legs broke and I have to glue it back together. Now that one, it is important to both of us. And it's something I absolutely will, before the end of next month, when I do have space and time, I will glue it together because next Christmas, I want that to be out so we can see it again. And I want it to be with us forever. So that's an item where, when will I get around to doing it? Within the next month. So when will I get around to doing it is a great question to ask with projects and crafts and anything that is just waiting for you to do something with it. All right. So, hey, Sue, good to see you. Hey, Jane just says, I just did my craft room and worked 30 minutes each day by day. And by the end of 5 days, it was done. Wow, that's awesome, Jane. That right there is breaking it down into small steps. That is the best way to do it. I love, love, love that you did it. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing that. Susan says, books to read fit here too. That's true. That's so true, Susan. Yes. When will I get around to reading it? All of those books. She says, when will I read them? And yes, if you loan them to a friend, then you can always borrow or give them to a friend. You can always borrow them back from your friend. You could get them from the library. You could possibly get them on Kindle. There are so many different ways to get a book back in the future if you wanted to read it again in the future. But if you've not read it by now, you probably are not going to find the time to read it if it's been around for a while. So let it go. It can come back into your life if it's meant to be later on, right? Peg says, I'm kicking a box of ornaments to decorate under my desk. Yep. Eloise, but how do you mentally get ready or prepare to finish going through stuff of a deceased loved one? Oh, that's such a good one. I'm ready, but I get there and go through a few items. Then I'm there looking at it. And Eloise, that is a fantastic question. And I have two parts to this answer. The first part to the answer is in my YouTube channel. I have a series, I think it's 3 parts, on organizing after loss and grief. So check out those 3 videos in my YouTube channel and just search for loss or grief. Those videos will come up. And I go really in depth into the process of how to do this. The second part of this answer is there's not really a great way to mentally get ready or prepare to go through a loved one's things when they're gone. You will know the right time for you when you feel it's right, then go through it a small bit at a time. This is not something where you want to make a huge day or huge project of it. It's something where you want to honor the process and honor the items that you are letting go of by feeling the emotions and being in it. You want to honor the items that you're keeping by repacking them with care and remembering all the memories. So take a little bit of time every now and then to go through an area, whatever area you're ready for. Don't push yourself to go through areas you're not ready for yet, but take a little bit of time every once in a while. We're talking like 30 minutes to go be with the memories, feel the happiness and the sadness and all of the feelings that you're going to feel. So don't push yourself to make it a big project, though. There's no deadline for that one. And watch those videos because I go really in depth into that one. But you're going to do great. It's just you need to take the time to honor yourself with that one. BT says, this week my pots and pans fell out of the cabinet. Oh, it was a mess. I would toss them back, but Monday I pulled everything out, tossed old frying pans and stray pot tops. The space looks great now. It's so funny. Once things are out, then we'll do it, right? But if they're in there and they're not causing enough trouble, then we don't bother with them. That's a great job, BT. I love it. Oh, Peggy says, oh shoot, had a very long phone call with business and just now joined you. Well, I'm glad that you hopped on. Welcome. Linda says, I have storage boxes of music CDs. When did I last listen to music this way? I really could let at least 50% go. Absolutely. With CDs, for me, I only keep the ones where if I could not find it on a streaming service, I would be extremely upset. But for the most part, even CDs, it's hard to find something to even play them on half the time these days. The computer that I get does not have a CD drive. None of the radios these days have CD drives. So of the CDs that I did keep, I at least moved all the music onto a hard drive as well. But yes, you could probably go to a whole lot of that. Sometimes what I will do is I will take the CD and whatever streaming service you use, if it's like Apple Music or Spotify, Pandora, grab that CD and then find that album on the streaming service and create yourself a playlist of all of your old CDs. Because a lot of times we'll keep the CDs afraid that we will forget that we liked that music. And this way, if you have it saved in a playlist, at least you will remember and you're more likely to listen to it also. It makes it easier to let go of the CD. Karen says, these are great questions. I'm already looking around asking these questions. Yay, that's awesome. And feel free, write them out, print them up, put them on your wall, use them often so that it becomes habit. That's awesome. Darlene says, I just came across a book called Guerrilla Marketing. I'm thinking donate. Copyright 2007. I'm thinking the information is too old. Let it go. Absolutely. That's a perfect one to donate because with marketing, it absolutely gets old fast. It's crazy how fast. Oh, Eloise says, will do. Thank you. You're so welcome, Eloise. And sending big hugs because that's a hard process. All right. One bonus question before we wrap up. All right. And this is one that I wrote on a little Post-it note, so I don't have the full card. But what else could I use this time, space, or energy for? So when you think about it, we'll go back to that juicer. When I think about that juicer, if I let go of it, what else could I use that space for? Wow, I could use that space for nothing because right now it's right in front of some storage bins that I want to be able to pull in and out. So I could use that space to not have to move the juicer to get to the bins. That's a great use of the space, right? Or if you're letting go of some old ornaments that you don't use anymore, what could you use that space for? Wow, maybe you have some new ornaments that are really crushed inside of their storage and it's really hard to get in and out, which makes it dangerous for your precious items. Maybe you could use that space for some of the new ornaments. If it's a project that you've had around forever that you've just not done yet, and it's been laying out on your counter, what could you use that space for? You could use that space for the freedom, the mental freedom of not feeling guilty and feeling like there's one more thing to do whenever you walk into the kitchen, right? So there are so many different ways to use the space. You could use it for another item. Maybe if you let go of the book on guerrilla marketing, maybe there's another book that you've really been wanting to read that could go in that spot so you'll remember to read it. It has more up-to-date information. Sometimes we use space for just the mental freedom of not having to see the item and not thinking need and should and all of those thoughts. And sometimes we use the space simply to have more space, to make it easier to reach things that are around it or easier to access them and move them in and out, because when things are really crammed, it's hard to get things in and out of spaces. So there are so many different things you can use the space for. Energy, the mental energy that gets drained by walking into an area that's filled with clutter and unmade decisions. What else could you use that energy for? If that space had less clutter and you let go of the things that were excess, wow, all of that energy, you would probably have so much more energy when you walked into that room. Maybe you could do a craft item that you love, or maybe you could finally do an activity that you want because you won't be feeling pulled down and guilty and weighed down. The same thing for time. It takes extra time each time you have to move stuff around to get to stuff behind it. What would you do with more time in your day? You don't have to dust that item anymore. You don't have to shuffle it around. You don't have to worry about it. Man, wouldn't that be nice, right? Let's see. I see Susan says, Eloise, I'm glad you asked that about going through lost loved ones things. She says, it helped me to hugs. Sending hugs to both of you. Bonnie says, but where do you get rid of these things? And where do you keep them until you get there? So my favorite way to handle getting rid of things. First off, if you can donate things, if you are able to financially and mentally, donating is the best, because whenever you want to keep something to sell or to find just the right person for it, that is now another to-do item on your list, right? Now you have a pile of things that all require effort, and it's easier just to stick them back in a corner in a box or back on the shelf than it is to go through all the steps of selling it or finding just the right person. So if you are able to donate it to a general place, whether it's your local church, Salvation Army, whatever type of place you find, that is the best. If it is something that is more expensive and financially you're not able to just donate it, then a lot of times finding something easy like a Facebook, if you can post on the Facebook Marketplace, or in like nextdoor.com is one of the local neighborhood apps around here that people can post in and chat on. Those types of places are pretty easy to sell things. That's an opportunity. Or if you know somebody who's having a garage sale, maybe they'll let you put a few things in with the garage sale. That's an opportunity. Consignment shops. If you need to sell it, then find the easiest way to sell it possible that you can do without a whole lot of time and energy, and that you can do sooner rather than later. And then the place that you keep them until you get to the point where you can drop them off, For me, I always have at least one donate bin. I think we have 3 donate bins around our house right now. In the house, easy to reach. So a donate bin in my house, what it looks like is there's one that is a nice like wicker type of storage bin that has a lid. And then whenever we find anybody in the family finds something that we no longer want that we can donate, we just toss it right in there. Close the lid right back up. It looks like a nice piece of decorative furniture. Nobody who's visiting knows what's in there. And when it gets full, I can bring the whole wicker bin with me, drop it off to Goodwill, say, I want the bin back. I don't want to look at what else is in there. Just give me back the bin. And then they'll take it. They'll add it to their donations. They'll bring me back the bin and then repeat. So that's the best way. So you're not doing a bunch of trips to a local donation center just for 1 or 2 items, unless it's already on your path to work or something. Another option is stick it right in your trunk. So that way, whenever you do pass a donation site, you've already got stuff in your trunk. You can just pull over, pop open the trunk. They can take it out. You can head off on your way. Those are some great ways to get rid of donations and places to keep them until then. So hopefully that helps you. Sue says, we took 3 years to clear out the farm we inherited. Not fun. Now onto my own house. Yeah, it can take quite a while, but doesn't it feel good now to have that done, right? I mean, an entire farm, that's a lot to clear out, but that must feel amazing. Lori says, 1973, I bought a quilt project, embroidered 1 panel, spilled red wine on it. Still have the embroidery thread, batting, quilting stand, won't work on it again, not sure whether to give it away or throw it out. So that's a great question. A lot of times, if you have a common type of craft supply, and there might be groups near you that would possibly use it. A lot of times, any of the senior centers and senior groups would love things for quilting. Or you can even like just look if there's a quilters group nearby. Sometimes we have at our local library, our downtown library, actually teaches quilting and sewing. So that's a great place to donate some of those supplies. So if you have a lot of things like that, then that's a great way to donate it. Another chance is look up FreeCycle or get on something like nextdoor.com, anything that would have to do with like your local neighborhood and giving things away for free. And then you could just post, hey, I have all this quilting stuff. Anybody who wants it, let me know. I'll leave it out front for you. That's a great way to get rid of stuff without taking a whole lot of your time. So it is nice to get it to the right people. If you do not have the time or bandwidth for that, that is absolutely okay. A lot of times charities, if it's a substantial enough amount of things that would be for a project, they will take different things like that. So you can always just group it all together in kind of a quilting project bag, and they will take that. Yes. So, Jane's also lost a husband. That's so hard. So hard. Nan, only able to half listen. Sounds like you have a list of questions. The card questions, where might they be found? I don't have a download for the card questions right now. I'm hoping to get a chance to have something for you by the end of the series, though. So keep watching the question series. It's a 5-part series. This is part number 2, but keep watching, and hopefully one of the weeks towards the end, I will have those for you. Eloise, she says to Susan, more than welcome. I love how Susanna has so much compassion and love in addressing such questions. She's the best. Oh, so grateful I found her channel. I love you, Eloise. I'm so glad you did too. Absolutely. Well, I have been through it so much with so many people. I absolutely can understand and relate. And you've got this. You do. I know it. Hey, Bonnie. Oh, your Spark Life Binder is in transit. Yay! It's in the mail. You're going to get it soon. I'm excited. Yes, Sue says, we donated enough to buy a tractor. Yay. That's awesome. Peg, I spent a lot of time organizing and holding a garage sale. Never again. Now I always donate. Yeah. If you don't enjoy garage sales, or if you don't have a whole lot of stuff to make it worthwhile, man, that's a lot of work for very little, right? I'm going to probably do a whole like blog post or something about garage sales one day. Sue, farm in the family for 300 years. Okay, that's really cool. Yep, Eloise, wow, that's a great idea about that home donation trunk. I'm going to do that. Yes. The trunk furniture, I mean, the bin. We have one in our stepdaughter's closet. She grows so fast. As soon as she finds clothes that don't fit anymore that she will never wear, she dumps it right in there instead of in the laundry or back in her drawer. So that's helpful. Karen says, I put donations in my car right away and go to the donation center on my errand day. That's perfect. I love that. Jane, I have to set a small goal this week. I say this every week and fail. Well, what if you don't tell yourself that? What if you take out the word I have to? And what if you just add to your calendar 30 minutes, and during that 30 minutes, you do whatever you see needs to be done? And you find that 30 minutes, on a Saturday morning or whenever you would have enough energy and time, and you don't try to set a goal. What if you just do what needs to be done? Try that instead. Sometimes that relieves the pressure, because when we tell ourselves that we have to do something or need to or should, then instantly our brain finds every way not to do it. So try that out. Yeah, Lori had a big quilt project. You're so welcome. Nan says, I love a good list. Lori says, when was part 1 of the series? Last week, last Thursday. So when you go to the YouTube channel, which you're already watching this on the YouTube channel, so check out the other videos, you'll see last week's. Hey, Lori, I'm sorry that you're having sound issues, but she could read the info on the screen. Yes, absolutely. So check back. Hopefully you can hear it during the replay. Lori says, we love yard sales and have enough to call it a flea market. That's perfect. If you love them, they can be fun. I used to love them. My mom and I used to do them together, and it was a lot of fun. Now it does not fit into my day the same it used to. Yeah, Darlene says, I used to get paralyzed even on where to donate. I hear Goodwill is not good. I've been doing Savers. And you know what? Where to donate is always a personal choice. I have researched Goodwill, and I personally have found that it's a great organization. There are so many things that it does for good, and it manages its money really, really well, that Goodwill, for me, I love donating there, and I believe in what they do because I've seen it firsthand. So for me, I loved Goodwill. Not everybody does, and that's okay. Not everybody wants to donate to a church because maybe that's not their thing. Whatever is your thing, donate where you are called to. There's a website called Charity Navigator. I believe it's .org. Charity Navigator. That is a great place to be able to look up charities and see how much they spend of the money that they make on things like asking for more donations and fundraising, how much they spend on actually helping the public, how much they spend on paying their top people in the company. It's a really good website. So Charity Navigator, I think it's .org. You're so welcome. Awesome. Yep. So you just wrote it on the screen. Thank you. Charity Navigator. And there's a place called Lupus that Peg says that you can schedule pickup online. There's also a number of places like Salvation Army and Habitat for Humanity and all these sorts of places. There's so many that hopefully that'll help you out. All right, so ready for a recap. And I will, as I do this, remember we have the general Thursday Talk Notes Guide. This is our general guide, so it's not specific for this series, but I will have, hopefully, if it all works out, cards by the end of the series that you can download, and they'll be available for a week. But right now, this is where you can go download the general Thursday Talks sheet to take your notes. All right, let's go through these. Let me do them in the order that we had it. I think, if I remember the order. There we go. Question number one. Would I rather have this item or more space? So the juicer. Would I rather have that item, or when I take it off the shelf and I see how much space I can have, would I rather have that space, both physical and mental space? Remember, everything takes up both physical and mental space. It takes up time and energy just maintaining it. What would you rather have more? When will you get around to doing it? If it's a project or a book, like Susan, I believe, said, when will you get around to reading the book? When will you get around to finishing the project? If it's not soon, maybe it's not that important of a project to you right now. It could come back in your life later, but let's make space mentally and physically. What is the worst that would happen without it? The fire extinguisher, it might get in the way, take up a lot of space, but the worst thing that could happen without it is really bad. Not likely to happen, but the consequences are so dire, it's worth keeping. The egg slicer to slice the dog's food. The worst thing that would happen without it, well, I'd have to use a regular kitchen knife. And I already know that it just gets stuck to the knife. It makes it really hard. So not the worst thing in the world, but I do have to use it at least twice a week. So it saves me so much time and mental energy that I feel like it's worth it. So the worst that would happen without it, having to go through that mucky, gross cutting up the food twice a week, that's kind of rough. The juicer, what's the worst that would happen without it? The worst that would happen is if I had a major life change, all of a sudden had more time and energy and wanted to make juice, I might have to buy it again. Very, very unlikely. And out of the 1,000 things I donate, if I had to only buy one back, it's so much space and it's totally worth it. So the worst thing that would happen without it, not that bad. And then my little bonus question, what else could I use this time, space, and energy for? What else could I use it for? So those are our questions. And if you're not already subscribed to the text messages to remind you about events like going live, make sure to subscribe. Text the phone to the phone number, text 407-214-4420. That's the phone number. And text the phrase events with the number 1, no space, just events with the number 1, nothing else. That will get you set up for text messages. And you can get reminders by text about when I'm going live, when we have special events. Also tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time is the webinar. It's a live webinar with me on the best time management techniques for 2022. So I'm sharing some of my favorite ways to stay focused, get more done, manage your time better. This is not just for work. This is for life, like time management for life. It applies to work. It applies to going through that craft room and organizing it, all the things. So hopefully you can join me tonight. Stop by SuzannaKaye.com and click on the store icon. Let me see if I have the link for that. Yes, I do. There we go. So when you go to my website, SuzannaKaye.com, and you click on the store, you will see the webinar for tonight. And right now it is $25 until the end of the webinar tonight. And then afterwards it goes up to $30 for the replay. And the replay is only available for a short amount of time. So if you register before it goes live tonight, it's $25 and you'll still get the replay. So it's much cheaper to register before 6 p.m. So time management, the best time management tricks for 2022 tonight with me, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You will get a replay if you're registered. So stop by the store and I hope that you will join me. Charlie, Darlene says, I registered. Yes, need this for sure. Fantastic. I'm so glad. I'm excited. And Eloise says, thank you so much for another useful commentary. We love and appreciate you. Take care. Thank you, Eloise. I'm so glad that you're here. Jane says, the text was great because I would have missed it. Yes. Oh my goodness. I love getting the text message reminders. Otherwise, I would totally forget. Peg says, another bonus question. How often do you use it? Yes, last week we talked about that one. That's a really good question. How often do you really use it? Karen says she'll miss tonight. I have a book club. Well, hopefully you can still register so you can get the replay because this is a really good one. But either way, I hope you enjoy your book club. And Darlene says, Saturday group hike. Yes, that is needed too. Yes, we have the group hike for Pathfinder members on Saturday. That's going to be a good one. RJ says, I have 90% of my medical folder done. Thanks. Yay, that's awesome. You're so welcome, BT, for another great session. And Lynn says, what does your t-shirt say? I'm so curious. I know I need to sit further back, don't I? It says, be kind. So me, right? That is so me. Well, thank you. I absolutely love you. It's been wonderful as usual. If you are a Pathfinder, if you're one of the members, then at noon over in the Facebook Campfire group, just for our Pathfinders, we have a quick Thursday talk for you. So hop over at noon in about 15 minutes over to the Campfire group and I will see you there. And yes, I hope that you grab the replay, watch the replay of this one. You can find part 1 in the YouTube channel, and the Organizing After Grief and Loss is also in the YouTube channel if you want to see that. And I'll see you all tonight. You guys are so welcome. All right. Goodbye, beautiful. I will see you soon.